This summer, I was given the amazing opportunity to travel abroad through Cal State Fullerton's international program along with my MSW cohort. The aim of this trip was to immerse ourselves in Vietnamese culture and history, especially given that Orange County has the second largest Vietnamese population outside of Vietnam. Therefore, it is crucial for us as future social workers to gain a sense of cultural competence of Vietnamese culture in order to best serve this community back at home. Going into this trip, I expected to be pretty familiar with the culture, people, and practices, as I have many Vietnamese friends myself and that I am Southeast Asian. However, I didn't realize how much I would learn about the culture. I expected that certain practices would mirror the Asian countries I have visited in the past, but I came to realize that given Vietnam's unique history, it's really different compared to other Southeast Asian countries. Throughout this vlog, I'm going to talk about the fun activities we did, but also about the things that I learned, especially when it comes to Vietnam's approach to social services. Fullerton luckily set us up with an amazing tour guide who showed us around the city, taught us about the culture and history, and introduced us to some amazing foods, which I was personally most excited about. One of the goals of this trip was to reflect on my own perspective of human rights and human dignity on a global scale. Being in Vietnam challenged some of my assumptions. I saw how community care looks different in various settings and how resources are allocated differently, and especially about how cultural values influenced what helping looks like. I began to understand that the way that we define social justice or support in the US is not universal, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just different. Aside from museums and cultural establishments, we visited a local nonprofit, care center, and some universities. Both the nonprofit and care center focus on supporting children with disabilities and those going through economic hardships. And then in universities we connected with taught us about how social work is being implemented in Vietnam. Each visit taught me something new, not just about Vietnam, but about how social workers everywhere are doing the best they can within the systems they work in. It also reinforced the importance of promoting welfare and protecting human rights regardless of where you are in the world. So as I take you through the highlights of our trip, whether it's like the food or learning from professionals, I hope you'll see how social work connects people across borders and how stepping outside of your comfort zone can really reshape the way that you view the world. Hi everyone, it is day 3 in Saigon. We are currently doing a city tour. And then we're headed to a war museum, but it's approximately like 8:30 a.m. right now, and we're gonna be going for a lot of walking. So
the reconstruction was impossible, so the President Zim commanded to build a new one on the original site, and this is the one finished in 1966 until now, right?
One of the most impactful moments of our trip was visiting the War Remnants Museum in Ho Chi Minh City. We walked through exhibits that documented the devastation of the Vietnam War. What we know as the Vietnam War, the Vietnamese actually refer to as the American War, which was really surprising. I was also surprised to learn how much the US was involved even before open warfare began, because we supported the French colonization after World War II, which was supposed to end, but instead the US stepped in to fill that void. The US backed the southern leader of Vietnam, Ngo Dinh Diem, and deepened its political and military presence in that region. Seeing the photos, reading survivor accounts, and understanding the timeline from the Vietnamese perspective made something really clear. The US played a central role in a conflict that resulted in the death of millions of civilians and the destruction of entire ecosystems and generations of trauma through bombings, chemical warfare, and systemic torture. From a more human dignity and rights perspective, it was really eye-opening. The US often teaches us that our country's interventions were done to kind of protect freedom and democracy, but standing in that museum, I realized how deeply we've been fed a narrative that overlooks violent costs imposed on other people's lives. The freedoms we're told were fought for in Vietnam came at the expense of the innocent Vietnamese people and other Southeast Asian lives. So it really made me question how we as Americans define human rights and dignity. Like, what does it mean for our country to promote human rights globally when it actively violated those rights elsewhere? This experience was pretty uncomfortable, but honestly really necessary, because as a future social worker, I think a part of practicing true cultural humility and global justice is being willing to confront like my own country's involvement in causing harm. I left the museum not with guilt, but more so with a sense of responsibility to kind of learn the full truth and the full story, and to challenge the simplified stories that I've been told. It kind of deepened my commitment to practice social work that centers on truth, dignity, and accountability, no matter how inconvenient that might be for me.
Okay. We performed for the school. Wait, what school were we at? University. Okay. We were speaking to the social work undergrad students. They did a presentation about their school and their program. And then we had some snacks. And then we had a performance. And Tan sang for everyone. And then she started break dancing.
All in all, this was an amazing experience. We did only visit Saigon, so it doesn't completely capture everything about the country. So I know I have much more to learn about the culture, history, the people, and everything. But regardless, I am very grateful for this experience and this opportunity, and will cherish the memories I made during this trip. Thank you for watching.
Yeah!